My name is Maddox, and I am the stainer, finisher, and also painter. In here, we do all of our paint. So we paint our shelves white or black, and it is separate from staining as it is a slightly different process. So we keep it separate in its own room. I do actually. So there is one difference. A shelf that is going to be painted, it's much more important that any tiny little crevices or little bumps that indent into the wood, even if they're minuscule and you can't even see them. A lot of times when we paint over those, the paint has a way of, they don't fill those in, they kind of hug them. And that kind of actually brings them out more and makes them more visible, especially more so than the staining. So when we paint, we have to make sure that they are very, very properly filled and smoothed over. And we have to be a lot more sort of watchful about that than we do with the stain. Because with the stain, a lot of times it just is not even noticeable. What I keep an eye out for the most is, I would say, the paint material itself. Because when we spray our paint on everything, just like we do the clear coat, those are both sprays. So when we spray our clear coat, it is a see-through film, but with our paint, it is actually spraying the paint material, it's spraying the color. So it's not just covering it, that is the color. So when we spray them with our paint, since it's the material going on there, we have to make sure that it is a very, very light coat, because any globs or extra dollops of paint on them will be very visible and leave large marks and blotches. So we, instead of 2 very thin coats of clear coat, we do 3 or 4 coats of paint in here often, just because we have to be much more careful about how much we apply. I think that with the paint, something that you might notice is it has a much more distinctive sort of matte shine when you finish them. The clear coat shelves all have they almost have a sparkle to them, especially in the sunlight, seeing as it is a see-through material. But with the paint, they come out much more matte and much more smooth, which is the desired effect. But sometimes it can be tough to remember that difference in what you actually want out of the final product. I think when we stain our maple, the staining and clear coating with the maple has much more of a tendency to bring out all of the different little characters of the wood. It shows a lot more of the grain, a lot more of the little details. Whereas with the paint, the white and the black, a lot more of the time it covers up most of what you see in the actual grain itself. So it's just it's a bit of a different beast sort of paint, as a lot of the maple material is less visible than with the stain. With the paint, it's just such a smooth, imperfectionless surface. With the stain, you get a lot more of the lines and grains and character. But our paint comes out extremely smooth and uniform, I think more so than the stain. So any like tiny little bump or colors or anything like that really shine through, because the rest of it is just so consistent and uniform.